I Hope You're Miserable Until You're Dead by monkeygirl77. Summary. Problem child's complete utter silence should have actually been highly concerning, but he was far too optimistic. This hero law lesson was on discrimination. A hand raises as he closes his lecture. No fidgeting, no nonsense, absolutely nothing. That single scared hand was the one that would be the precursor to everything. Sensei, while we're on this topic, what would you call it when someone says something, I don't know, along the lines of, if you want a quirk so bad, take a leap off the roof of the building and pray for one in your next life? Fuck. Aizawa was confident, this far into the lesson nearly done, sleeping bag calling his name, that this class was about to go by without a hitch. No explosions from the ever-angry mutt. No way moments, no mumbling sprees. Problem child's complete utter silence should have actually been highly concerning, but he was far too optimistic. This hero law lesson was on discrimination. A hand raises as he closes his lecture. No fidgeting, no nonsense, absolutely nothing. That single scared hand was the one that would be the precursor to everything. Sensei, while we're on this topic, what would you call it when someone says something, I don't know, along the lines of, if you want a quirk so bad, take a leap off the roof of the building and pray for one in your next life? Fuck. Midoriya? Typically, Aizawa refers to this particular child as problem child, but he refrains this time. Not the time, nor the place. Reading the boy's near unreadable expression, something's up. Neither he nor the rest of the class are in the know. That would be considered instigating suicide, which would be classified as a severe form of discrimination. Yes, why do you ask? It's not subtle, the manner in which his abnormally passive student turns his gaze from his teacher before him and casts a glance into one Bakugo Katsuki's direction. The typically explosive blonde looks rather ashen. He's forming an idea that perhaps the staff, extremely miscalculated something when it comes to these two particular boys. Bakugo looks as though he may pass out. Concerning to note, truth be told. Face devoid of all colour, wide eyes staring back at his classmate. Pleading for something the rest of them aren't privileged to bear the knowledge of. A minute shake of his head on his part, and the greenette merely blinks as acknowledgement. Aizawa is rightfully so alarmed when the boy with such a concerningly specific phrased question turns back to him with an even expression, not a single emotion detectable on his features. Viridian eyes conceal unknown far too well. No reason, Aizawa-sensei. Merely curious. The direct emphasis on his name doesn't go overlooked. Also, another question. What would you consider it when a person of authority, let's say a teacher, vastly misinterprets a duo's relationship? Let's say one of these go out of their way to cause harm to the other in this hypothetical, and continue to do so. Would you expect the student to come to this teacher for help in regards to just about anything, considering they've been a shitty adult in the position to provide their student aid by continuing to allow the poor student to be tortured by the other? Oh yes, they've sorely miscalculated, and the price for such a poor judgment was going to be steep. No, I would assume the student would see his teachers as untrustworthy at best, complicit at worst, and would be more likely to seek retribution on their own terms. A sense of foreboding doom starts to bubble within him. Midoriya, if I've wronged you in any way, I sincerely apologize. Please, if you are in need of assistance with anything, reach out. No. The edge of the sharp denial is lethal and emotionless and meant to cause as much agony as it can. Everything's fine, merely curious. Like I said, Sensei, it was merely a hypothetical. There's a noticeable change in the dynamic within Class 1A's dynamics itself. Something has changed and the entirety of the school can feel it. It's nothing physically to take note of. Appearances haven't changed. To the naked eye, there appears to be nothing. But to those who are trained to see detail, it's glaringly obvious. The change is Midoriya Izuku and the way Bakugo Katsuki is weary of him. Something in the green bean is different, and not anywhere near in the good realm either. Midoriya is hard to read on a good day. He keeps his expressions, micro-expressions, perfectly sculpted the way he wishes them to be. Even one with training like a racerhead, any top underground hero has a difficult time deciphering what the boy is really thinking, feeling, desiring. Hound Dog was perfectly stumped. Perfect poker face, Zuko goes about his days as usual, but it's seen in the way he carries himself. Something's wrong. Concern did nothing to deter any of them, the staff that is, from pitting the two against each other for training purposes. Aizawa made it a priority to keep a close eye on them, on the one who appeared as though he couldn't purposely harm a fly. His private meetings with Hound Dog on the matter solidified that notion in place. Because out of the two of them, the one who was cause for most concern was not the literal bomb in teenage flesh form. Hound Dog was one of the singular few, very small honoured ones, who could catch glimpses of the true face that was hidden under a mask perfected by vicious, cruel time, and the glimpses he managed to catch sight of caused him great alarm. Midoriya was a raging inferno slowly building, Krakatoa with an unexpected explosion that would make history. Not only could the boy cause great harm if he reached that point, but he will cause a downfall that hasn't been seen in ages. At first, there was nothing to substantiate the worry they felt. Though hits were a tad harsher and jabs to gain a response a bit harsher, Midoriya seemed unfazed. Until it happened. Time! Despite being the hero known for his speed, Hawks is surprised to find a racer on scene where Midoriya allowed an attack he saw coming from miles away get past Bakugo behind him without attempting to hide his true intention of the act. Midoriya, kindly explain. Who the fuck do you think you are? Okay, neither hero seems to expect such a venomous response from the Sunshine Child, and for it to be directed at his teacher, no less. Thinking you have a right to demand me to explain shit to you when you're so goddamn stupid. This was the eruption their school counselor warned about. This was the cap of the volcanic pit blowing up, all-consuming lava prepared to devour. Oh, because you're my teacher, am I right? Tell me I'm right. Can I just be right just this once, Sensei? You want to know what happened? I understand. Your pretty simple, infantile mind can't comprehend the difference between when someone's getting their shit beat out of them or it's a friendly fire kind of rivalry. Bakugo isn't just still laying flat on his back at their feet. Between livid student and his classmate, one majorly confused high-ranking guest teacher and Aizawa-sensei. He's prone there, unable to move. Leg shattered, Deku ensured he took the entirety of the attack they'd been teamed up to defend against. I decided, as a student who's been tormented by this human-shaped blob of dog shit for 10 years, whose incompetent teachers couldn't seem to do the one goddamn thing they're paid most to do, to, as you said, take repercussions into my own hands. Hawks is well aware that the literal loathing from the screen child isn't in any form directed at him, but the intensity alone still has him on edge. So, what I did was, I saw this attack coming, I saw the path it would need to take to grow in strength like a tsunami strengthens before impact, and then I simply stepped out of its path, without sending warning to that waste of space on the ground there, and watched with total joyous entrancement as Bakugo was broken like a glass fucking doll. Midoriya smiles. I only wish it broke him more. He dusts his hands off lightly. And the best part, I foretold you of this happening in class, the day we discussed types of discrimination. Remember, Sensei? Perhaps Bakugo should have heeded his own advice. Saying as to how his quirk wasn't suitable for the attack that Hawks designed, he should hope for a more versatile quirk in his next life and take a leap off that building behind him. Just like that, Aizawa is dismissed by his own student, as the greenette turns his attention towards the winged hero that unwittingly completes their trio. Hawk-sensei, in order for us to pass your exam, we had to evade all of your attacks. Did I meet the requirements? Oh man, he should never have answered his phone this morning. Note to self, any call that comes in before noon goes straight to voicemail because, holy shit, he's a mandated reporter and this is a cluster of all reports mandated to be reported to be had. Yeah, you pass, kiddo. As if on cue, Bakugo groans, and green Turokochik here smiles even more. Bakugo failed. As if that's considered a dismissal, the ball of spite cheers softly in victory, throws his middle finger at the blonde bomb still diffused on the broken ground, and trots away to rejoin the friends who aren't as shell-shocked as they definitely should be. Todoroki even appears to be contemplating, concerned and noted, what exactly is he? Save that for later. Hawks waits until the Enigma child is out of hearing range before whirling around on the lower rank. Aizawa switches from jovial but conflicted hero to concerned and critical agent. You want to fucking explain something here? Such an open act of indifference during a training exercise forces Nezu's paw into involving parents or legal guardians in the matter. How joyful this experience was going to be for all of them. On paper, Midori Izuku lived in the care of one foster mother known simply as Kazu. Given name, no surname provided. For all intents and purposes, he was hers. But Kazu was more little known as an older follower of All for One. Back in the glory days, before that fatal fight between good and evil, a front win for the boy to attain the dreams his family, so very much wanted him to attain. Midori Izuku lived under Kazu's roof, but legally his guardian went by the name Shigaraki Tomura, his older brother, leader of the League of Villains. Nezu was well aware of his student's family situation. The living situation of one student by the name of Midori Izuku. Any other given moment he'd be cackling at the situation, for it doesn't get much more amusing than this, but alas, now is not the time. That said, having a supervillain of such a caliber assuring, no, even more potent, downright guaranteeing his attendance for this untimely unscheduled meeting for unspecified over-the-phone concerns that did hold some weight to them, was enough to send the poor secretary into a panic attack of epic proportions. The idea that the supervillain Shigaraki Tomura was a legal guardian of one of the top students in the hero course was so ludicrous it had been laughed off as a joke, until the man himself answered the woman's call. All lines are recorded in regard to those used to contact Midori's parental unit for obvious reasons. No threats were made. Shigaraki had been downright cordial with the woman, simply doing as her employer requested her to do, his tone clipped if anything. Nezu graciously allowed her the next few days off to recover from the shock of a lifetime. As it was, outside of himself and the obvious, the few who knew of such arrangements within this office was limited to only one other. Hawks, as Agent Takami, was well aware of the students' rather strange living arrangements. So there they wait, sitting in silence for Midoriya's guardian to join them. One can imagine it's not exactly easy for someone as prolific as Shigaraki Tomura to simply take a stroll down the street, let alone enter a hero school through the front door. Nezu had to ensure to inform all staff members that the man, though considered their enemy in most circumstances, in this case he was here as the principal's invited guest, and the man was to be allowed on campus, with his own strict instructions given the obvious history between them all, without interference. From the moment of the assault, the boy seated in the chair assigned to that of the aggressor was rather smug, and then to the knowledge that parents and guardians had to become involved, Midoriya was nervous. This child, who nearly allowed his apparent childhood bully to be killed during a class being held by a guest teacher who sits high up there on the hero food chain, was ever the appearance of a frightened child who knew they were in some form of trouble. Nezu was sure the child is indeed in some form of trouble with his older brother, as the man had assured him roughly that the brat, spoken with such fondness, would face his own consequences for his callous actions. That alone begs the question, what sort of consequences someone as chaotic as Shigaraki might be implying or have in mind? This was an interesting dynamic and arrangement for them that came only once every 1,000 years. The door to the office opens. Midoriya's actual guardian has arrived. Truly it's something to contemplate when taking in the odd guest's appearance. Shigaraki Tomura could be mistaken for any civilian in the manner he appears now. Dressed in simple grey jeans tucked into ankle-high combat boots, a buttoned-up sky-blue top, lacking the usual mask of hands, and his long waves of pale blue hair pulled back on his head in the form of a composed bun. Nezu truly wonders if his staff had recognized the man for who he really was, and if the training that would need to happen to ensure such recognition didn't go missed again. Shigaraki surveys the room for a single moment. Overhead, the blonde bitch who tormented his beloved baby brother, the hero with wings, the animal, Eraserhead, and other NPCs he cared little to take the time to recognize. Izuku. The voice still raspy as a side effect of his quirk, His call is clear and even. It still makes the boring questions shrink inwards, as though he was now regretting actions he had taken now that Big Brother was involved. Not to be mistaken that he was regretting actions he had taken because a fellow student had been viciously injured. Izuku is regretful for being caught, and now there is a possibility of punishments to be dealt out. You okay, Munchkin? But here he is, now kneeling before the student, standing as the reason they now had an incident on their hands, gloved hands reaching out to lift the youth's head enough for their eyes to meet. You good? Izuku bites his lip harshly, something of which the older boy doesn't approve of. The youth had a tendency to draw blood when too far gone in his panic states. Tomura clicks his tongue lightly and reaches out to pinch lightly the small teen's lower lip. I'm sorry. Heads tilt at the near childlike tone the boy takes as he fails to break gazes with the man who decides what happened to him after they leave this meeting, though he leans forward as though to inquire about something that he wishes to remain between the two of them. And may wonders never cease, Tomura leans in, as was desired of him. The youth whispers something in his brother's ear, and the career villain hums in acknowledgement, and he leans back, the inquiry meant for his ears and his ears only having been heard, and nudges the boy's pale cheek with a few knuckles. Depending on the severity, I don't think this incident was so bad as to earn a meeting with Dad, but we'll get to that particular part of the conversation in a bit. Now, my own question. Are you okay? Shigaraki nods lightly when his brother nods briefly in confirmation and rises, turning to face the heroes present with a glare. What the fuck happened?